Hey there, it's Mr. Rankin back at you with the final chapter of our story, The Tiger Rising. This is chapter 30 and the conclusion of our story. That night, his father sang to Rob as he put the medicine on his legs. He sang the song about mining for gold, the one that he used to sing with Rob's mother. Excuse me. When he was done with the medicine and the song, he cleared his throat and said Caroline loved that song. Me too, Rob told him. I like it too. His father stood up. You're going to have to tell Beauchamp that you was the one that let the tiger go. Yes, sir, said Rob. I'll tell him I was the one who shot him, but you have to admit to letting him go. Yes, sir, said Rob again. I could lose my job over it, his father said. I know it, Rob told him. But he wasn't afraid. He thought about Beauchamp's shaking hands and how Beauchamp was a coward. He knew that now. I thought I would tell him that I would work for him to pay off for what I had done. You could offer him some sort of reasonable kind of solution, said his father, but it don't mean he'll go for it. There ain't no predicting Beauchamp, other than to say that he's going to get real mad. Rob nodded. And on Monday, his father continued, I aim to call that principal and tell him you're going back to school. I ain't messing around with taking you to more doctors. You're going back, and that is that. Yes, sir, said Rob. He didn't mind the thought of going back to school. School was where Sistine would be. His father cleared his throat again. It's hard for me to talk about your mama. I couldn't never have believed that I would miss anyone the way I miss her. Saying her name pains me. He bent his head and concentrated on putting the cap on the tube of medicine. But I'll say it for you, he said. I'll try on account of you. Rob looked at his father's hands. They were the hands that held the gun that shot the tiger. They were the hands that put the medicine on his legs. They were the hands that had held him when he cried. They were complicated hands, Rob thought. You want some macaroni and cheese for dinner? His father asked, looking back up at Rob. That sounds all right, said Rob. Macaroni and cheese sounds real good. That night, Rob dreamed he and Sistine were standing at the grave of the tiger. They were watching and waiting, but he didn't know for what. Then he saw a flutter of green wings, and he understood. It was the wooden bird, only he wasn't made of wood. He was real, and he flew up and out of the tiger's grave, and they chased him, laughing and bumping into each other. They tried to catch him, but they couldn't. The bird just flew higher and higher until he disappeared into a sky that looked like the Sistine Chapel ceiling. In his dream, Rob stood and stared up at that sky, admiring all of the figures and the colors, watching as the bird disappeared into them. He woke up. See, said Sistine in his dream, I told you, it's like fireworks. Rob woke up smiling, staring at the ceiling of the motel room. Guess what? His father called to him from outside. What? Rob called back. There ain't a cloud in the sky, his father said. That's what. Rob nodded. He lay in bed and watched the sun poke its way through his curtain. He thought about Sistine and the tiger and he wanted to make for her. He thought about what kind of wood he would use and how big he would make the tiger. He thought about how happy Sistine would be when she saw it. He lay in bed and considered the future, and outside his window, the tiny Kentucky star rose and fell and rose and fell, competing bravely with the light of the morning sun. That is the end of our story, Tiger Rising. I hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.